is on, folks. Everybody come in. Let me get my pinned comment in here. I'm trying to think, what comment should I put in here? Alright, I know what I'm going to put in here. So as y'all are coming in, go ahead and make sure I got that. And make sure that we are running here. Alright, make sure we're in there. Alright. So as y'all are coming in, go ahead and shout yourselves out in the comments section. You can tell me your name and location. We are going to get started in a second. Hope everybody's having a good day out there. And I'll get into talking about what we need to talk about in one moment. It's summertime here in South Florida, so I don't know where all y'all are at, but we in the 90s out here. And I hope y'all been doing your work. I hope you've been doing your work over the winter time, because the winter and the spring, because now it's summertime. You gotta show off what you've been working on. So I hope y'all been doing the work over the winter. Even if you're not going to the beach or you're not going on vacation or anything like that, you still got to be ready, because I mean, look, you can't wear a coat. You can't wear a coat in the summertime. So hopefully you're ready for that. But anyway, that's a side topic. Bell OKC, what's going on? Good to see you here. As y'all, there's Joseph. Joseph is in here as well. Shout out to Joseph. He's the first one to shout himself out. Destin from St. Pete, Florida. Shout out to St. Pete. Shout out to Tampa Bay. Shout out to everybody in Tampa Bay. I used to live out there. Shout out to, where was I in Tampa? I was in the city of Tampa, and I was also in, what was the name of that town? I can't remember the name of the town. Oh, Palm Harbor. I was in Palm Harbor. So shout out to Tampa Bay area. I like that area. Shout out to all South Florida. But anyway, I am in Orlando today. I am speaking at a conference tomorrow morning. I'm actually going to be speaking about the concept of the third day at a business conference tomorrow morning. Then I'm doing a meet and greet after that, and hopefully meet some valuable people here. I know I'm valuable, so hopefully some valuable people in the room who hear what I had to say. And speaking of that, since that's what I'm going to be talking about here tomorrow, since I'm giving the speaking gig tomorrow, I want to talk about how to be an authority. How can you build yourself up as an authority in whatever you're doing, whatever you're offering, and whatever business you want to be in. This message is going to be universal. Doesn't matter the topic, doesn't matter who you are, how long you've been in the game or haven't been in the game. These are the things that you can do to set yourself up as an authority. And before I even get into that, what's going on? Armani.com. Is that Armani like the clothing line.com, or is that you, Armani.com? Armani's a clothing line, right? Is that how you spell it? So is that Armani you personally, or Armani the company? But anyway, while we wait for that answer, I want y'all to understand that the reason why you want to be an authority is because when you have authority, and when you have that position, and people are looking at you as an expert and as an authority and the person who really knows their stuff on a certain subject, first of all, they're going to be willing to listen to you. Secondly, when you are telling them what they need to do or what they can do to move themselves forward, they will actually, you increase the likelihood that they will follow. Now, not everybody listens. People will listen to what you say and then go do whatever they want to do. You can't control other people, but you increase the likelihood that they're willing to follow what you say when they believe, when you know that they know you have authority. And third, when you have authority, you can make more sales. You can sell more yourself, because usually if we're going to pay somebody for something, especially when it's based on information, when it's based on knowledge, we usually will only give our money to someone who we believe at least knows more than we know, and that they know their stuff well enough that they can tell us something that is going to help us move forward. That's the reason why we're willing to give our money in exchange for it. So these are all the reasons why being an authority matters a lot for your business moving forward. Even if you're brand new, you eventually want to get yourself into the position of being an authority. You don't want to stay an amateur or a newbie forever, because again, there's only so many people who are going to be willing to support someone who's brand new at what they're doing. You have to have that authority, is what puts you kind of a level above knowledge-wise to the people that you're talking to, and that's why they're willing to listen to you, because you have something that they do not have. So let's get into it. First of all, let's get a definition of the word authority. Definition of authority is the power to influence others, especially because of one's commanding manner or one's recognized knowledge about something. The word authority comes from the Latin word the Latin word for authority meant originator or promoter, meaning someone who created something or who's putting something out. And we're talking about yourself as an authority. So I got 4 things I'm going to tell you need to do to become an authority. Number 1 thing to do to become an authority, you must declare yourself an authority. This the simplest way to become an authority is you declare yourself an authority. Yes, it is really that simple. This is not that complex. This is not a complex point. If you want to be looked at as a leader or as an expert or as an authority on a certain subject, you have to be willing to put yourself out there and tell everybody, hey, I'm the girl or I'm the guy on this subject. If you want to know something about this right here, I'm the person that you call because I know my stuff on this subject. Now, let's be clear about something. While it is very simple to declare yourself, you could declare yourself anything, right? I could declare that, the way things are now, I guess I could declare that I'm a girl and people had to listen to it. You could declare yourself anything that you want to declare, but the next step after you declare it is you got to be willing to back it up, because the people who hear you say that you're an authority, if I tell you I'm an authority on strategy and mindset and accountability and execution, some of you are going to hear that and you're going to say, okay, well, I'm interested in that mindset and execution part. Tell me how you can help me. Tell me how you can help me out. And now you're going to be listening to me, and now you want to find out, okay, well, how can you help me, Dre? How can you help me get to where I want to go in that particular area? And now I got to prove it. And if I can't prove it, now I just lost my opportunity. So as soon as you declare yourself an authority on a certain subject, now you have to be able to prove it. So if I walk into a room and say, hey, I'm an expert on, I'm a personal injury attorney, even if I'm not, I might get somebody's attention because you had a personal injury or your grandma fell down the steps or something and you want to sue somebody. Now you're going to come to me and say, okay, well, tell me how you can help me out with this. If I can't answer the question, now I just lost my opportunity. So declaring yourself an authority will get you attention, but attention is very short-lived. Y'all know how short people's attention spans are these days, including your own. So as soon as you declare yourself an authority, now make sure you have the material, the substance behind that to actually back that up and prove what it is that you're talking about. So number 1 thing is be able to prove it. Remember what I told you in episode 779? Your brand starts with what you say about yourself. It is not about what other people say about you. It's about what you say about you. So when you declare yourself an expert, all right, now you got people listening. Now you got to be willing to prove it. All right, people in positions of authority get there because they want to be there. All right, none of you is ever going to be looked at as an authority because somebody decided, hey, everybody come look at him over here or look at her over there. They're an authority. Everybody should listen to them. Usually doesn't work like that. At some point, you had to step up and you had to be willing and able to toot your own horn. And then again, you toot that horn. Now everybody's looking at you. Now can you actually prove that is the thing? A great book that I would refer you to on this mindset is a book by a guy named Paul Arden. He passed away probably about maybe almost 15, 20 years ago. The book is called It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. I'll tell you the title again, and if you want to look it up, it's called It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. And the last I checked, the book was only available in physical print. And so you would need to go to Amazon, and the guy's name is Paul Arden, Paularden. Just look up his name. He has maybe 3 or 4 books that he wrote, and they're like these smaller books. They're like the square, maybe 6 by 6 inch books, and they have a lot of images. So it's not one of those long like novel type books. It's a book with a lot of images. You can sit down and read the whole thing in one. You can read it on a plane ride. But look him up. His name is Paul Arden. It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. It's one of my favorite books of all time. He got 2 or 3 that's on my top 20 list. So look that book up and make sure you read it. So everybody got number 1. Declare yourself an authority or an expert. You want to be one. Number 2 thing you got to do in order to be an authority, you must know more than your audience. This is the simple way that anybody can get into the game, especially when you're in any type of knowledge field or expert field or information field, especially when you're selling intellectual property, is that you have to know more than the audience that you're selling to. You do not need to know more than everybody in the world. You don't need to be the best in the world at what you do. So if I wanted to become a tennis instructor, for example, and let's not even use tennis. Let's use something that I actually did. I played basketball, right? I played basketball professionally for almost a decade. I've written 4 books on playing professional basketball. If I want to train basketball players, would I be able to do it? Yes. Why? Because I'm going to go find an audience of basketball players who I know more about the game than they do, and I can train them. I'm an authority in their eyes. Now, I can't train every basketball player in the world. I probably can't go to LeBron James or Steph Curry and say, hey, LeBron, hey, Steph Curry, let me teach you some things about the game that you don't know. I'm not going to be able to get their attention because to them, I don't have that position of authority because they've done more and they might think they know more than I do. But If I'm talking to some middle schoolers or some 15-year-olds and their parents, I can say, hey, look what I've done. Look at my resume. Look at my achievements. I can help your child, or I can help you, 10th grader, to get better at basketball. So what you need to do is know more than your audience. Sorry, this is the point that I'm making. If any of you ever seen a movie called Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio, and it was based on a true story of this guy named Frank Abagnale. And his thing was, for whatever reason, he would go around impersonating people. So he would do all kinds of impersonations. He would impersonate pilots on airplanes. He would impersonate bank managers. He did all kinds of impersonations, and he did some fraud along with it. He ended up getting arrested by authorities. But for one semester at a school, one of the things that he did in his impersonations, he impersonated a college professor. And he spent an entire semester teaching a class on a college campus, and he was not even a qualified teacher. He didn't have any kind of certifications. He didn't go to school for teaching. He hadn't actually been hired by the school, but he taught a college class for an entire semester. And when he got caught by the authorities, they were just so curious about the stuff that he did. And they said, well, Frank, you didn't have any certifications or any expertise in this particular field. How were you able to teach a college course for an entire semester? And none of the kids caught on to this. Like, they followed him as if he was the actual professor. None of the kids ever found out that he didn't have the qualifications to be teaching. So they said, how did you do it? And he said, well, really simple. All I did was read one chapter ahead of the rest of the class. So if you really read in between the lines of what I just told you, that's all you need to do, metaphorically speaking, in order to be an authority. You just need to know more, and you need to be at least one chapter ahead of the people whom you are serving. So you don't need to be the best in the world at marketing, or the best in the world at speaking, or the best in the world at technology, or the best in the world at fixing automobiles. You just need to serve the people who you know more than them, so they are willing to learn from you so that they can get to that next step. And listen, you might not be their expert forever. You might be somebody's expert for a season. People will come into your world and into your space for a season because you can help them get from a level 3 to a level 6. But when it's time for them to go from a level 6 to a level 7, 8, 9, maybe you don't have the expertise to take them to a level 7, but you could get them up to a level 6. So everybody who's below a level 6, that's your audience. Those are the people that you need to sell. So understand, you don't need to be an expert to the whole world. You don't need to know more than everybody, and you don't need to know everything. You just need to know more than the people you are serving. So the second thing you do is know more than your audience. Again, just like Frank Abagnale in that movie, Catch Me If You Can, you just need to know more than the people you're serving. Read one chapter ahead of everybody else in the room. So you don't need to be better than everybody, just better than the people that you're serving. Number 3. And yeah, Paul Arden, he had that book as well. So he has about 4 books. It's Belfort. He got 4 different books. So that one is one of them, and the other one that I mentioned as well. Number 3 thing to do to become an authority, you must go on the record. In the world that we live in today, it is very easy to go on the record. But even before we had the phones and anybody could publish anything, you need to be on the record to be an expert. If you want to be an expert in any field, you must be on the record. What does that mean? That means you need to be published with whatever you're talking about. So if I meet you in an elevator and I tell you, hey, and somebody asks me, what do you do for a living? I say, oh, I'm an expert on discipline. I'm an expert on confidence. That person's probably going to go Google me. They're going to say, oh, because that sounds like something that's like information, right? So usually they're going to ask, well, have you written a book? Do you do any speaking gigs? Have you done anything that is Googleable? Anything that I can look you up and I can verify that you are who you say you are. That is publishing. That's why you need to be published. You need to be out there in the game. All of you out there who want to be authorities, especially if you are selling intellectual property, you should not be a mere passive consumer of social media. This right here, what I'm doing right now, I don't care if you're watching this on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, wherever. I'm not a consumer of social media. I am a producer of media. I don't consume any media. I don't do a lot of media consumption. I watch the NBA playoffs sometimes, if the game's during the day. Even if the game's late at night, I don't even watch that. I just check the stats and watch like the 10-minute highlight the next day. You got to be a producer. If you want to be in the expert space and you want to be recognized as an expert, you must be consistently publishing to where you are discoverable, to where people can actually find you. And you got to be publishing not just anything, not just pictures of yourself on vacation at the pool, publishing yourself talking about the area in which you are an expert. I mean, if I claim that I'm an authority on discipline and I say, well, look, we just met in the elevator, I don't have time to explain to you why I'm an authority on discipline, right? And you might not believe me because I could tell you anything. But if I tell you my name, what are you going to go do? If you're really interested in me, you might not be interested, but if you're interested, what are you going to do? As soon as you get off that elevator, because you don't have a signal in the elevator, you're going to Google me, or you're going to look me up on Amazon, or you're going to look me up on YouTube, or see if I'm on Instagram, or wherever I told you could find me, or wherever you use as a frame of reference. Maybe your frame of reference is Facebook. Maybe it's LinkedIn. Maybe you like reading books, so you'll look me up on Amazon. Maybe you like watching videos, so you'll look me up on YouTube. I need to be discoverable in a place where you can find me, or whoever my target client is can find me, so that they know I'm as good as I say I am, and that there's a third party showing that I'm good. And even though the third party, let's say that third party is YouTube. Now on YouTube, everything that's on YouTube with my name on it is made by me. So is it technically a third party? Not really, but it is a third party, because here's why. Every video that I have on YouTube, they're going to see how many subscribers I have, but I can't subscribe to myself. So all the people subscribe to me is what? That's giving me credibility. Everybody who's watching my video gives me credibility. You see how many followers I have on a platform, that gives me credibility. If I have a video up or a podcast out and you see where I'm ranked, or how many listens that it got, or again, how many likes one of my posts got, or anything like that, all of that is third party validation that I'm actually good, because it's people other than me validating and affirming what I'm already talking about. That's why all of you who want to be in the intellectual property, knowledge, information, entrepreneur space, you need to be publishing. You need to be publishing consistently. You need to be publishing to places where your target clients can find you. So who are your target clients and where are they at? It is your job to know the answer to these questions. So if you're doing something that's more on the visual side, like for example, when what I was selling was mostly basketball stuff, I would be on the visual side. So I was posting mostly on YouTube, because a basketball player probably wants to see me doing something on the court so that they knew I knew what I was doing. So then they'd be willing to buy my program. Nowadays, when I do things like I do a lot of book writing, I do coaching and things like that. So now I'm in spaces where the people that I am targeting to serve, where they're looking. So I write books. So if any of you look at my posts on Instagram, you'll notice that I always have these long captions every time I write a post. Why? Because I'm a writer. So if you're not willing to read, you're not my target audience. Any of you who doesn't like reading, I'm probably not the person for you. Most of my clients, actually not most of them, all of my clients are people who read books. And they're heavy readers. So I know this. So those of you who kind of like reading, but not really, you're not my target client. And I understand this. And that's why I make my material the way that I do, because it brings in the right people and it pushes out and rejects the wrong people. I'm on other platforms where I know the kind of people that I'm looking for might be. So you might hear me on something like Clubhouse, or I might go on somebody else's podcast when I know they have the right kind of audience. I still use a platform like YouTube because I like to serve the people over there, but I know that my target clients, my highest level clients, are usually not coming from YouTube these days. But 10 years ago, all my best clients came from YouTube. And really, they were more customers than clients back then. But you understand what I'm saying. So you need to figure out where are your target people at and how can you be there so that they can find you. You must be discoverable if you want to be an expert. You can't be a secret expert. You got to be out there. Where can people find you? That's what makes you an authority, is where people can find you, where people can identify you, people can see what you're saying, and you're on the record talking about whatever it is that you talk about. And let me add one more thing on this point, is especially in the world today where we have cancel culture and people afraid to say certain things because they don't know who they might offend, or who might be mad, and who they might piss off. You cannot become an expert in any field if you're afraid of saying something that might piss somebody off. You can be liked. You can even get yourself known, and you can survive. Like you can, You can kind of float by. You can float by. But if you really want to be an expert, you cannot be concerned with offending people. Because here's the thing. The people who are really your target audience, they will like the fact that you said something that people who are not your target audience don't like. There are plenty of things that I've said. If you listen to my podcast, I've said, because I get to go into full context in my podcast that I don't get to do on necessarily an Instagram post or something like that. But if you listen to my podcast, that's my biggest audience is there. Understand, you have to be willing to talk about the things that you actually believe and state where you stand on things, because that's going to allow people to see, okay, this is really my type of person. When you're trying to play defense and you're trying to play the middle and not offend anybody, that's when you become forgettable. You become easily replaceable. You become fungible because you're trying to blend in with everybody else. The problem with blending in is that you're blending in and that I could just choose anybody from the middle of this pack because everybody's there in the middle. So you got to decide, and it doesn't have to be everything. You don't have to try to be controversial just to be controversial, but you have to decide, what are you willing to talk about, that you're willing to stand on, that you care about enough that you don't mind if it pushes some people out of your world. So there's some comments here. I'll respond to all the comments after I get through my points. So that's point number 3. Point number 4. Topic here today is how to be in authority. Fourth thing you must do. Number 4, you got to work on your mindset. Challenge that many of you have, and I know this because I work with a lot of entrepreneurs and I hear from a lot of people who want to get into the space. Challenge many of you have, you simply don't believe in yourself. I'm going to let that one sink in. Many of you simply do not believe in your own message. You don't believe in your brand, or at least what's going to become your brand, and you are concerned with what you would do or what you could do if and when somebody challenges your position. So when you come out and you say, hey, here's how to be an authority, and you start laying out your points, you are thinking about, what if somebody comes in and challenges you and says, well, I don't think you're right because I think this. You don't know how you're going to respond to them. I've said many things on my platforms that I know people don't agree with. I know for a fact they don't agree because people text me and they tell me, hey, I don't agree with what you said right here in this space, but I'm all right with people not agreeing with me, because anytime somebody doesn't agree with something that I published, then all that does is give me more ammunition to go deeper into why I believe what I believe, and I can actually use their rebuttal as a source for more material. I just use it for more content that I can create. And again, if you listen to my podcast, you listen to my masterclass, it's called Work on Your Game, by the way. For those of you who don't know, I'll post a link to it for anybody who didn't know that I have a podcast. Comes out every single day on all platforms, workonyourgamepodcast.com. Anytime somebody disagrees with something that I say, all it does is give me more material to make more stuff. Because now I see, oh, so some people think this. Okay, let me address that thing that some people think that I know is wrong. And again, I can say I know it's wrong because I'm talking from my perspective. So it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek thing, but you get what I'm saying here. So to be an expert, you got to work on your mindset, and you have to believe that you are worthy of being an expert. You have to believe you're worthy of the title, and you have to believe you're worthy of having authority. And you have to be willing to stand on your positions when you start to put yourself out there. And here's the thing about being an authority. If you're not saying anything that could possibly be challenged, then you're not really being an authority. You are blending into the crowd, and if you went away, nobody would notice. This is the thing that a lot of experts really need, or budding experts need to get through their heads. Think about it. If I came out and all I was saying was a whole bunch of stuff that anybody could say, I'm not saying anything that anybody could disagree with, that anybody could challenge, that anybody could push back on me against, what's the purpose of me being here? What do you need me for? Now, you might like my message, but what do you need me for? All I'm saying is the same stuff that anybody else could say. Anybody could just take everything that I say, copy it, and then they can say it themselves, and you wouldn't know the difference who came up with it. If that's what you're doing, why do we need you? If that's all you're bringing to the table, why does the game need you? Why does the marketplace need you? Why does your industry need you? Why does your audience need you? The answer, that's a trick question, because the answer is that they don't. They don't need you if all you're giving people is the same stuff that everybody else is already saying. So the question you have to ask yourself is, what are you saying that nobody else is saying? What are you saying that nobody else in your space is saying? I hear people all the time say stuff, and I'm listening to them, I'm like, damn. And the thing that they're saying kind of goes along the lines of what I'm saying, but they have to have something. They have to have something in their message that is different from what other people are saying. And again, remember that you're not talking to the whole world. You're just talking to your target audience. So what are you saying to your target audience that they're not hearing anywhere else? This is a very important question. What are you saying to your target audience that nobody else is saying to them? Because this is the reason that they're going to this is the reason that they'll subscribe to you, follow you, come to your events, buy your stuff, because you're bringing something to the table that they didn't hear from anyone before you, and they're not hearing from anyone other than you, or at least in the way that you're saying it. What are you bringing that they can't get anywhere else? And this is why you got to work on your mindset, because if you don't really believe in what you're saying, first of all, you're not going to say it at all. Secondly, if and when you do say it, you won't be willing to stand on it when somebody pushes back against you, because you will get pushback. When you start saying things that are not being said by other people in your space, somebody's going to push back against you because people are going to disagree with you. People are going to not like the fact that you said the quiet part out loud, whatever it happens to be, that you stood on something that is a quote unquote controversial topic that people are scared to talk about. And there are plenty of those these days, which gives you plenty of opportunity. Now, all the topics that you think people are afraid to talk about because they don't know what's going to happen if they say the wrong thing and the wrong person hears it, pick one that you actually give a damn about, that you have a real opinion about, and talk about it. You automatically separate yourself from a whole bunch of other people because everybody else is scared to talk about stuff. This is one of the things that, if you listen to my show, sets me apart from people. And my clients tell me this. When I talk to them, I ask them, what is it about the stuff that I bring to the table that separates me from whoever that might be talking about the same thing? One of the things that everybody says is that, Dre, you're willing to keep it real and talk about stuff that a lot of people don't want to talk about. You talk about social issues. Even if I don't agree with what you say, people tell me this. They say, Dre, even if I don't agree with what you say, I respect the fact that you're willing to say it and that you are willing to explain to people why your point is your point and why you have this perspective, and you basically build your case however you build your case. Even if I don't agree with your case, I respect the fact that you're willing to build your case and you do it in a logical, strategic type of way. And this is another thing that can separate a lot of you from your competition if you are willing to do it. This is going to take some balls. You got to have some balls in order to do this. I talked about that in an episode of my show. I'm going to tell you what episode that was where I told you about having some balls. But this is an important thing, and that's for ladies as well. This is an important thing for any of you who wants to get in the game. That was episode 1796. Get some balls. Work on your game podcast, by the way. For anybody who never heard that episode, you should all go listen to that episode at workonyourgamepodcast.com. The first step in utilizing that human psychology is you got to master your own inner psychology. You got to master your inner game. Any of you who's ever listened to any old sales training material from people like Jim Rohn, Tony Robbins, Earl Nightingale, Zig Ziglar, one of the things they talk about, and some of you probably have heard this before, is in order to sell anything, you got to be sold yourself. And a lot of the contemporary guys talk about it as well. If you want to sell anything, you must be sold on it first. So if I'm going to sell you the concept of one of my books or one of my courses or an event that I'm doing, I'm going to sell you on the concept of me. I got to be sold on me before I can sell you on me. Because if I don't believe in what I'm going to say, then you ain't going to believe it. And if I don't believe it, I probably won't even say it, let alone am I going to get you to agree with it if I don't believe it. And if I say something that I don't really believe, then you can read that off of me without even considering my words. You can just look at the way that I say it and say, all right, he don't believe that. And you're not going to buy it. And you're not going to take the next step. So 4 things that I just shared. Let me recap these 4 things, and I'm going to take questions. Anybody got a question, put in the comments. I'm going to address them right now. How to be an authority. Number 1, declare yourself an authority. Number 2, know more than your target audience. Not more than everybody, just more than your audience. Number 3, go on the record and be published. And number 4, work on your mindset. So declare yourself an authority, know more than your audience, be on the record, and work on your mindset. Those are the 4 things you must do in order to be an authority in anything that you do. Whoever has a question, go ahead and post it in the comments section. I'm going to address all the questions right now. And by the way, anybody who doesn't get my daily motivation text, if you want to get that, text me at this number right here. I'm about to post in the comments section. That is 305-384-6894, daily motivation. And anyone who's interested in working with me directly in my coaching program, that's workonyourgameuniversity.com/CALL, or just go to university.com and click on the one-on-one button. That is not a free service. That is a paid service, by the way. I think everybody understands that. All right, let's see who we got. I think I saw a question or two. I'm looking for it right now. If you got a question, put it in the comments. We are talking about how to be an authority for anybody who came in the middle, and I'm addressing. So Antoine said, you don't want to disrespect those who you're not targeting because the fact of the matter, even they may know something that may benefit from, they may know someone that may benefit from something you're selling, so just be mindful. So be mindful of that because people share. No, Antoine, I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. So if let's say we pick what's a topic that people are talking about these days? We could talk about the guy who was swimming at University of Pennsylvania decided that he was a girl. All right, I completely disagree with that. I think that was ridiculous that they allowed that to happen, and nobody stepped up and said this is completely ridiculous, and they quieted those girls down, the girls on the team, that this dude was swimming on the swim team the whole year and won medals and stuff, and nobody did anything. I think that's completely ridiculous. Now, if I come out and say that's ridiculous, and there's someone in my audience who I'm not targeting, like you said here, Antoine, who's mad at me for saying that, because maybe they're a strong supporter of the LGBTQ community, and they think I'm wrong, they think I'm disrespectful for saying that, and I'm misgendering this guy who says he's a girl, and I'm not honoring his rights, and I'm not using his proper pronouns, and they think I'm disrespectful, and they're going to tell all their friends, hey, Dre Baldwin's disrespectful, don't buy anything from them. Fuck them. I don't want them in my audience. I don't want them or their friends in my audience. So what you're saying here, Antoine, is you're kind of talking about hedging your bets. That's kind of what you're saying here. Hedging your bets and making sure that even the people who you push out of your audience, push them out softly, because they might get mad and they might spread the word and try to get you shut down and not like you and tell all their friends not to like you. Listen, anyone who believes that it's okay for a man at 21, 22 years old to decide he's a woman and then compete against women in sports and beat them and nobody's supposed to say anything, anybody who thinks that, I don't want them in my audience. And I will say that out loud, and I'll print that in at 10-inch headlines on my website and hope that you hear it, and you can tell everybody you know about it, and do not come back. And all your friends should not come back either. Block me on all platforms so you never see anything that I post. So no, you do not need to use kid gloves when you're pushing people out of your audience. I talked about this, I believe it was episode 1364 on my show. The topic was rejection marketing. Yes, 1364. I know that number because I've mentioned this episode so many times. Rejection marketing is when you share something that, again, you're not trying to be negative towards people on purpose, but you're sharing something that you know may divide people, that some people think this way strong and some people are strong that way, and you talk about it. That's rejection marketing, because for every one person that you push out, there might be 2 or 3 people that you bring in because they're glad you finally said something, or that you had the balls to even speak on a specific topic. If you're not willing to do that, you are not qualified to be an authority. If you are not willing to speak on a topic, especially those of you who are in the thought leadership space. I mean, it's called thought leadership. This means you have to lead with the way that you think. So if you're trying to sound like everybody else, and you're trying to make your thoughts sound like what is acceptable and what's the consensus and going along with the crowd, then you are, by definition, you're not a leader. They should call it thought following. That's what a lot of people are doing these days, is they're not thought leading, they're thought following, because they're just saying what they believe will be accepted, which is fine if that's what you want to do. I talk about this all the time. I'm pushing some people out just by even saying that. There are people who do that, and that's fine if that's what you want to do. The challenge with doing that is you are easily replaceable, because somebody else can come along and follow just like you, and why do I need you if they're saying the same thing as you? And this person over here said it, they said it, it's like 20 of y'all saying the same thing. I don't need any one of you. All y'all become, basically, you become the Walmart version of your business. I don't think any of you want to have Walmart prices. Now, you might want to have Walmart's revenues, but there's only one Walmart for a reason. So I would rather have Christian Louboutin prices, Mercedes-Benz prices, Ferrari prices, not Walmart prices. All right, you can't sell coaching with Walmart prices. Okay, so any of you who's in the thought leadership space, so Antoine, to respond to what you're saying here, no, I completely reject what you're saying here, that somebody might know somebody and they share. So what? I want them to share. So you're absolutely right. I want them to share. And if somebody thinks it's rude that I disagree with them, then that's their problem. And those are the exact people that I do not want in my audience. I want them out. I want them to leave and never come back. To address your comment there. So thank you for sharing that comment. You see how when somebody leaves a comment that I disagree with, it actually gives me more ammunition. So that's actually a good thing. So I don't mind when people disagree with me, because it actually gives me more material to work with moving forward. So Bell said, I need someone to tell me what to do to give a running start, and I'll figure the rest out. Love the content, but I'm still stuck in the starting blocks. Well, Belford, you got to figure out who you're serving. This is the first 2 questions for any entrepreneur. And I know you've heard me say this before. Who are you serving, and how are you serving them? These are the first 2 questions you have to answer, and you got to get really clear on the answers. Who do you want to serve, and how do you want to serve them? If any time anyone's unclear on those 2 questions, then it's going to be hard to get started, because then you won't know where to go. Right? Until you can answer those questions, you won't know where to begin. And those are the first 2 questions for any entrepreneur out there. And when you know those answers, then it's easy to push people away. It's easy to bring people in. And Belfer said that's what set Samuels apart. I think you were referring to something that I said, something else that I said there. Let's see. 0412 said how to find out what to sell. I just told you, same thing I was saying to Bell. Who do you want to serve and how do you want to serve them? Those are your first two questions. Who do you want to help and help them how? When you can answer those questions, then you know what to, then you'll have a pretty good running start as to what to do next. And you want more help with that, I would suggest you join my mastermind, which is at workonyourgameuniversity.com, which is that pin link. Just take the call part out. Workonyourgameuniversity.com is where you join my bulletproof mastermind. I do a live training call every single week. And on that live training call, what I'm doing is addressing these questions. I'm helping people with these questions. I'm literally walking you through how you're going to build your business. Who are you going to serve? How are you going to serve them? These are the first two questions that sometimes takes a little bit of time for entrepreneurs to figure it out, but it's worth the time because once you get the right answer, then all the other stuff becomes a lot easier. But you must answer those two questions first. So 0412, that's how you start. Answer those two questions. I'm just taking questions now for people who came in the middle of this. My topic was how to be an authority. I will be putting a replay up shortly. Bell said, what advice do you give for those that want to get paid to speak like you do within the next month? You want to get paid, you want to do a speaking gig in the next month? Then, and usually speaking gigs get booked months in advance, months plural in advance. So this speaking gig, I booked this gig probably like, when is it now? It's May. Today's May 16th. Tomorrow's the 17th. I booked this gig in like December. So these gigs get booked. It was probably before that. It was probably like last August. It might have been. I don't even remember when. But it's been at least 6 months since this gig was booked. So if you're talking about booking a gig in the next month, but understand the gig might not be till November or October or something like that. What do you want to talk about? And how is it going to help people? Notice how it's the same two questions? The framework doesn't change, Bill. So the same two questions. What do you want, or let's reverse that. Who are you going to help, and how are you going to help them? It's the same two questions. Only difference between what I'm doing right here and doing a speaking gig is that at a speaking gig, I'm doing it on stage to an audience of people that was gathered up by some organization. And if I do it as an entrepreneur, I do it, however I want to do it, whatever format, to an audience that I gathered myself. But it's the exact same thing. So tomorrow I'm giving a speech called The Third Day. How to perform, how to do your best work on your worst days. That's a literal title of my speech that I'm giving tomorrow at this conference. Who is that for? Well, the good news is when you do speaking gigs and stuff like that is that you don't have to do all the work of gathering the audience. They gather the audience. All you got to do is just come in and give the speech. So I don't even know who's going to be in the room. All I know is that I know what time to show up, what room to go into, and I give my speech. So that's all I got to do. I don't have to worry about all the other logistics of it. The thing is, I don't have as much control. You're an entrepreneur, you get more control over the situation. So it's just a matter of but more control also means more responsibility. So it's just a matter of what trade-offs you're willing to give. There are no perfect situations, only trade-offs. That's the quote from Thomas Sowell. Let's see. Bell said, I'll talk to you. Yes. You say I'm on the route to be an instructional coach to help student, athletes, staff, and teachers. Well, it's a matter of what you're helping them do. This is the same question that still must be answered. So if you're figuring out the person, first of all, you got to take that "and" out of there, Bill. I'll help. That's something that everybody can use. So any of you, when you're asking yourself, who do you help? Take the word "and" out of your answer. A-N-D should not be in the answer. Your answer needs to be one specific group. Doesn't mean you can't help the other group. But start by focusing on one group, and then you can expand to the other groups. That's how it works. So when I first came out, when I was just doing basketball stuff, I was serving up-and-coming basketball players. That's what I was serving. Up-and-coming basketball players. That's it. Just up-and-coming basketball players who wanted to get better at basketball. How was I helping them? Giving them drills to show them how to work on their game. Isn't that simple? That's very simple, right? All I had to do was post a bunch of videos on YouTube. That's how I helped them. Then they started asking me, can you make some programs so that I can take all these videos you made and kind of organize them and give me some kind of structure. So I did it. I started selling programs for $4.99. That's how I got started as an entrepreneur. I was making $4.99 programs for basketball players to practice by themselves to get better at basketball. But I was clear on my audience. There should be no "and" because when you're trying to serve more than one person, now you got to do two of everything, and now your message is diluted, and no human being is great when they're trying to focus on more than one thing at the same time. This is why basketball players can't rap. That's why rappers can't play basketball, because you can't do two things well at the same time. So, and you can't serve two people well at the same time. So you got to figure that out. So, question is, do you cold call to book speaking gigs? Yes, you can cold call. I spent a lot of time cold calling. When I first started, I cold called, like, let me see. I stopped playing ball in 2014. So 2014, 2015, 2016, those 3 years, pretty much. I spent all 3 of those years doing a bunch of cold calls. Do I cold call now? I still do some cold calling these days, but a lot of stuff is online these days. So it's really just going online and cold, not even emailing, but cold forms. You got to fill out forms. That's one way you can do it. You can get seen by somebody who already books people. So that's being discoverable. That's why you create content. That's why you have a podcast. That's why you write books. All those things make you discoverable and you can get seen. So there's a lot of different ways you can do this. Bell, you should be in a bulletproof mastermind, is what you actually need to do. The questions you're asking are good questions. You need to be in a bulletproof mastermind so that we can address these questions direct every single week. Because me piecemeal answering your questions when I do a live, be in the mastermind, and you can post what you're working on, you can show what you're working on, get feedback from me, get on the calls every week. I calls every Saturday. Ask your questions, I answer your questions, we'll walk you through what are you doing next, what's next. That's how it works. So join the Bulletproof Mastermind, workonyourgameuniversity.com. All right, if I can answer any more questions, somebody go ahead and post it. Then we're going to wrap this up. I'm going to go find me something to eat. And it's 5 o'clock. It's a couple hours away from bedtime for me. I'm going to go to sleep. I'm going to get up and run out here tomorrow. I got my route mapped out already. So I'm going to get up and run tomorrow. I'm speaking at 10:30 in the morning tomorrow. Then I'm doing a meet and greet after that. Not a public meet and greet, but a meet and greet for this conference right after that. And then I might do another live tomorrow. Actually, I know I'll do another live tomorrow. I just don't know what time. Probably later in the afternoon, probably around this time, something like that tomorrow. So, text me to get my daily motivation. My number is in my bio on LinkedIn for those of you watching on LinkedIn. Otherwise, it's 305-384-6894. Text me. If you want to get coached by me, go to workonyourgameuniversity.com. That's the best place where you can ask me any question that you want. You can show me anything that you're working on. You can get directly coached by me. You can get direct answers on everything. I will answer every single question you have if you are being coached by me. All right? If you want to be coached by me, bring me all your questions. I will answer it. My expertise, just so everybody understands, my expertise for everybody to understand is on strategy, accountability, and execution, starting with the mindset as the foundation. That's the way that I work. That's what I do. And that's why it's called Work on Your Game. Somebody said, Bell said, I'm investing in myself more than I'm seeing a financial return. Well, first of all, investing in yourself means you're putting in something, and the investment itself is the payback. That you're making the investment so that you can start actually working on yourself. So that's how investing works. Investing doesn't work as you put in $1 in, then tomorrow you're like, where's my $2? That's not how it works. So if that's the way you're thinking about it, then yeah, you're gonna have a challenge for a long time. So like I said, join the Bulletproof Mastermind so we can actually work through all these things, because you have more questions than I have time to address everything. And if you want to be coached, then get coached. That's the way it works. You know how this works. You know how this game works. So everybody, we are wrapping this up. I will exactly 5 o'clock Eastern. I'm about to go get me something to eat. I gotta go find something. Y'all have a great evening out there. Text me to get the daily motivation text. Work on Your Game University, and if you want to work with me directly and get coached. And any other announcements that I got? Drink a lot of water. It's summertime out here. At least where I'm at, it's summertime out here. Drink a lot of water. Stay hydrated. Work on your game.